Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail.
Welcome, everyone. I am Erica Gifford Mills, and you are listening to a special episode of Get Rooted Radio, living it up, loving it up, letting it go, right here on Transformation Talk Radio. It's an honor to be filling in for Dr. Pat today, and with that, I'd like to give a big shout out to Dr. Pat's producer, Benny. Hey, Benny, how are you doing today?
Hi there, doing very well, and happy holidays to you, and welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a great honor to be here. So did you have a good holiday?
We did. It was, of course, pretty quiet as for most people, as hopefully everyone is staying safe and has stayed safe and continue to do so. Did a lot. I mean, my family, we did kind of like a garage thing, where everyone was kind of came in. We had the door open and did the little small little surrounding, and it was really good. I think a lot of other neighbors did the same thing. I noticed too. And if not, Zoom. Everyone is zooming.
Oh yes, absolutely. Everybody's zooming, and which is wonderful. But at the same time, gets when you're used to doing it, people are, I'm having Zoom fatigue. But
right.
It's a great way to keep connected, even if you're just using it by phone, if you're doing videos, anything like that. So it's a great alternative, and I'm hoping more people will start to do that. Whether, again, it doesn't have to be Zoom. Maybe it's the FaceTime or through the Facebook or
whatever
WhatsApp.
Social streaming idea network theory plan you have in order works, I'm sure.
I mean, I know my son is in the Marine Corps and he's stationed in Okinawa. So he usually audio calls me, but I do force him at least once a month. I need to see your face.
Yeah, because that's what moms want.
Yes. And so he grudgingly abides by it. And I said, I don't even care if you don't have to be dolled up. It's just me. I've seen you at your worst. It's great.
I've seen when you were a little guy.
Yes. So are you ready to wave goodbye to 2020 as the new year approaches?
I am not 100% though. I've actually had some pretty bright moments in this last year. So I'm going to say yes and no. But for others, they can speak for themselves.
Well, and I think that's really one of the things that we're going to talk about today is the whole New Year's Eve resolutions, whether it's a yay or a nay. And I think a lot of people are like, good riddance 2020, but just like with any year,
right.
It's a chance to look back. And there are so many things that even though it wasn't the year we thought it was going to be, there are so much things that I think we can take out of what we thought we needed or what we thought we wanted. And that's going to change us going forward.
Right. It should be New Year's reflections.
Yes, I love that. So I wanted to start off this first segment really just talking about the history of New Year's resolutions, because when I was doing a little research, I didn't know some of these and I wanted to share it with our listeners. So if you think about it, a New Year's resolution is a decision to do or not to do something, or to accomplish a personal goal or break a habit. It's not unusual that as something begins again, like a new year or a new month, that we want to look back to see what has been and what is to come. And that's what we're really going to examine. So we're going to look at the history, pros, cons, and really guidance on all of them. So where did the tradition begin? And as I said, I was doing some research, and one of the first ones that I could find is the ancient Babylonians are really said to have been the first people to make New Year's resolutions some 4,000 years ago. And they were also the first to hold recorded celebrations in honor of the new year. Although for them, it wasn't in January, it was mid-March when the crops were planted. And then they would have this massive 12-day religious festival when they would crown a new king or really reaffirm their loyalty to the reigning king. And it was during that time they made promises to the gods to pay their debts and return any objects that they had borrowed. Not a bad thing for maybe all of us to do. But these promises could be considered the really forerunners of New Year's resolutions. And if the Babylonians kept to their word, their gods would bestow favor on them for the coming year. And if they didn't, well, they'd fall out of favor with the gods, and that's no place anybody wanted to be. But a similar occurrence took place in ancient Rome. And it was really around Julius Caesar time when he tinkered with the calendar and established the January 1st as the beginning of the new year around 46 BC. And so the named for Janus, which is the two-faced god whose spirit inhabited doorways and arches, January really had a special significance for the Romans. It was really symbolic of looking backwards into the previous year and ahead into the future. So maybe our common idea of New Year is really based on those Romans, and they would offer sacrifices to the deity and make promises of good conduct for the coming year. But those aren't the only two areas where this kind of fell into place. Ancient Egyptian culture was closely tied to the Nile River, and it really appears that their new year corresponded with the annual flood. So you still have other places that are looking at opening of the year, right? The Egyptians celebrated the new beginning with a festival, and I'm going to try to pronounce it, so don't laugh. It's like Wepet, Renpet, and that's what opening of the year is said to mean. So they really saw it as a time of rebirth and rejuvenation. And I think that is why people now are looking at resolutions, a new beginning. What can I do and really renew? And I think one of the ones that a lot of people have seen is in ancient Chinese New Year. And that was about 3,000 years ago. So still not the latest. We still have the winning team be the Babylonians, right, for those longest time. And the holiday began as a way of celebrating the new beginnings of the spring planting. So similar to the planting of the crops, the Chinese New Year. But really, the Chinese word for year, the nian, that's what they would look at. They would celebrate all of the families, the areas that they wanted to base the upcoming times on. And I think it's really, really important that we do that. You know, where are we looking forward? And I think that's really important as we understand the history. So for early Christians, the first day of the new year became the traditional occasion for thinking about one's past mistakes and resolving to do and be better in the future, kind of a reoccurring theme. And it was an English clergyman by the last name of Wesley. He was a founder of the Methodism, and he really is the most one commonly associated with New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. And I think despite the traditional religious roots that many of these different cultures and civilizations had, New Year's resolution today are mostly really a secular practice. So instead of making promises to the gods, most people make resolutions only to themselves and focus purely on self-improvement, which may explain why such resolutions seem so hard to follow through on. And I think that's where we get into the pros and cons. You know, according to recent research, as many as 45% of Americans say they usually make New Year's resolutions, and only about 8% are successful in achieving those. So why do we even make them? You know, and that is what we are going to get into over the next couple of segments. But before we go, I want to know, Benny, do you make New Year's resolutions?
I wouldn't really say a resolution. I think I just do what I was saying earlier about reflections, kind of like, or a repurposed idea, or maybe, I'm just going to stick with reflection. That seems to be popping in my head for the most part. I still try to look forward anyway, rather than backwards, if that makes a lot of sense.
No, it absolutely does. And that's actually some of the things that we're going to get into in the pros and cons coming up, because there are definitely pros to making New Year's resolutions, and there's also cons.
Right.
But I think that if we take a look at both, we can decide what's best for the individual, right? And that's what's so important. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to start off with the pros or the benefits of making New Year's resolutions. And I'd love to hear from all of you. Do you make New Year's resolutions? If so, call in at 1-800-930-2819. That's 1-800-930-2819. And let me know what your resolutions are. You are listening to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills, filling in for Dr. Pat, living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Sometimes being human has its challenges. Our physical health falters, our spirits sag, our dreams don't immediately come to fruition. Welcome to the power of Maximum Medicine Radio. Join me, Doc Martin, in conversations that will blow your mind about healing. In our hit show, Doc Martin addresses the scientific with bridging to the mystical approaches to give you a new narrative about maximum medicine. In this live call-in show, we will journey into the extraordinary genius of the human body and talk about other beliefs that impact being your multidimensional self. We seek the seen and the unseen and explore the earthbound and the otherworldly, all with the purpose of calling forth the maximum you. To learn more about Doc Martin and Maximum Medicine, visit www.sharonmartinmd.com.
Join the New Earth on the Cornelia Stephanie Show. Tune in each month as Cornelia takes listeners on an odyssey of higher consciousness to inspire, educate, and empower. Cornelia Stephanie is a spiritual teacher, passionate speaker, published author, and founder of the Empower Network. Cornelia guides people on the path of self-healing, peace, and liberation. For more information, go to corneliastephanie.com.
Are you ready to invest in your best self? Join Sabrina Wright as she shares practical tools for creating joy and balance in your life every single day. Sabrina is here to help you become your greatest advocate and empower you to make decisions that will help you learn to live your best life. Live the good life, connecting your physical and spiritual self with Sabrina Wright. Every second Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Are you ready to get big and live your life out loud? Tune in to Get Big Out Loud Radio, exploring life through the lens of curiosity and compassion, with me, Carrie Knudsen, joining Dr. Pat live every second Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. I will offer ideas to transform what you are thinking into conscious action. If you want to get big and live your life out loud, visit me at KnudsenSpeaks.com.
Are you ready to find out who you really are? Are you ready to have fun and listen to the soul part of yourself? Indulge in a deeper meaning with Laura Goldstein, host of Coffee with the Universe. This show will awaken that true self hidden deep within you and will get you energized on who you were created to be. So go ahead, grab your cup of joe and experience Coffee with the Universe with Laura Goldstein on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Welcome back to a special episode of Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills, living it up, loving it up, letting it go, right here on Transformation Talk Radio. It's an honor to be filling in for Dr. Pat today, and if you missed any portion of today's episode or want to listen to previous episodes of Get Rooted Radio, you can catch them on GetRootedRadio.com. That's GetRootedRadio.com. Don't forget to subscribe online to receive the latest news, events, specials, and words of encouragement. Go to GetRootedRadio.com. So today we are talking about New Year's resolutions, and I'd like to get back to that, resolutions. And I think, Benny, you made an awesome point when you said you really call them reflections. And I think that's one thing we need to look at when we're looking at the pros, the benefits, or cons, the disillusions of them.
Right. And actually, I have a new one since the break.
All right.
Well, you called me out a little bit, and I was a little flustered, to be honest. But I've made up for it. I think we can rehash that to maybe an intention, new intentions.
Love it.
All right. That's where that's my vision now. That's where I'm going to go.
All right. And you can do a vision board for that.
Sure.
I mean, right?
Sure.
And I think that's why we have to look at it, right? And there are definite benefits to making New Year's resolutions. I'm not saying that the end all be all and everybody should do them, because they aren't for everybody. But let's discuss just a few of the benefits. And I think the first one would be self-awareness. And I think not holiday gatherings really have us recapping and maybe involuntarily reflecting on our year in conversations with family and friends. You know, it really presents a perspective of what we've accomplished and can give us the drive to set specific goals to work towards and be proud of next year. And I think that's one thing to look at. Are they resolutions? Are they goals? Are they reflections? Are they intentions? And it can definitely be harder than it seems, because self-awareness means being honest with yourself. It's the good, the bad, the ugly, and the hopeful. You know, one needs to really look at what part he or she played in the past year, and what part are you going to play in the year to come. And we'll get into some tips later. And that's one of the things. It's not just the year. It's that day, that week, that month. And if we're not honest with ourselves and really can have true self-awareness, we aren't going to be able to move forward. So if we can actually set that intention, we can reflect, and we can be resolved in actually performing self-awareness, it is a great benefit, because you will see some things about yourself that you may love and maybe you don't like so much, but it really truly is a benefit. I think that self-awareness also leads us to just what Benny had talked about earlier. It allows us to reflect. There's just something about the year ending that makes us want to look and reflect not only on our past, but on the present and the future. And it's one of the things I was getting at, and you alluded to as well, Benny, is that I don't want to see necessarily all of 2020 gone. There are things that I started doing and stopped doing that have been great for me. And I've gotten into a better morning routine, probably because I'm not as rushed trying to get out the door. Right. But, you know, I don't want to see that go. There's things that I stopped doing, although I miss, I'm glad I actually stopped doing. And I think that reflection allows us to make choices. And I mean, the amazing things we've gained and lessons that we've learned in the past year really help shape who we are right now. And being honest with yourself and others during this time of reflection is so important. You know, and not only that, but doing so helps us move forward because of the thought that we have a better sense of the things that work in our favor and the things that brought us down. And this knowledge will carry us through the new year and beyond and guide us so that we can meet our new goals. So if we are definitely a pro of self-awareness, another benefit is it allows us to reflect. Another one is that it really triggers our desire to be better. And we need, again, reflection and self-awareness, but to be better for ourselves, not for necessarily someone else. It might be a driver, but if you want to be a better person for yourself, it's so important. You know, from putting more money in our savings account to living a healthier lifestyle, that new year triggers our desire to hit the refresh button and really just try to be better. Since the past year has shown us the things that we should likely improve on and the things we should eliminate, or the things that we need, right? We have so much excess. I think as typical Americans, we have a lot of excess. We have a lot of things that maybe we don't need. And so it also shows us those things that we can eliminate. And that's where resolutions or goals, intentions come in, because they support positive change. Typically, we're not going to say, I resolve to start smoking again, or I resolve to eat junk food. That's typically not. We're trying to do a positive change. So we make these resolutions to improve on ourselves and ultimately have a more stable and fulfilling life. And when we can do that for ourselves, that's going to reflect on those people around us, whether that's our loved ones, our significant other, our family, our friends, our careers. It is all intertwined. Another benefit is, and this is for me, let's be honest, many of us are procrastinators, and I'm really raising my hand really high here, but sometimes we need a deadline to motivate us. And there really are some of us who need a due date to help them start working on those goals. And that could be whether you want to try to lose 10 pounds in 3 months or cleaning out the attic before the winter ends. There are certain goals that need a little pressure to motivate us to achieve them. And that's why listing resolutions or our goals is perfect for those who need a certain timeline to reach those new aspirations. And I think probably one of the number one reasons is a fresh start. I will caution you, though, you don't have to wait to a new year to have a fresh start. So whether this is a New Year's resolution or a new day, every morning is a fresh start. But for some of us, it's hard not to equate the new year with a new beginning. And it can be easy to create and bullet point really your personal goals. And there's something truly liberating and refreshing that comes with the idea of starting with a clean slate. It's you get a new planner, right? Unless you do the July to June one, but typically you're starting on January 1st. And having that fresh slate, that clean page to write on, that new notepad to work in, it's something very refreshing about that. So again, there's so many benefits to doing these, but that doesn't mean that they don't come also at a cost. So again, let's just recap. It allows for self-awareness, which if we can become more self-aware in many aspects, that helps in all of the relationship is on, right? That relationship building, because you are now more self-aware, will have a ripple effect in other areas of your life because you can start seeing other people's perspective. So self-awareness, it allows us to reflect. And reflecting also allows us to make sure we know what we want and why we want it. It also triggers our desire to be better. And perhaps, unfortunately, we need a deadline to motivate us, which, hey, that might be a goal in and of itself. Stop procrastinating. And then again, that fresh start. We want to be able to have a clean page to write our own story. And I think that's really important for everybody to remember, is that just because you are in a chapter of your life that perhaps you're not loving right now, maybe this is not a great chapter, you are the author. You get to start a new page, you get to start a new chapter, and it's not how your story will end if you don't allow it to. So tell me, what would you think, Benny? What would be a benefit of making a New Year's intention?
For outlook, obviously, in the new future, some adjustments for some people. I know for me, personal experience, this last year, I haven't really left our business. However, traffic has been amazing for me. But for others, traffic has been amazing for them, too. They haven't been able to sit in it. They're at home, or they're managing their life a little bit easier. Some benefits that way. Reducing gas, saving money. Mm-hmm. That's always a good thing. For me, yeah, it's similar in the retrospect as well. I do miss a lot of my coworkers, though, because that's our business, is the active communication. That's why we're in radio, for TV, and now it's social media. So we have to adjust in those many ways and bright spots. But it is, we had a staff of over 140. Now we're down to like maybe 15 to 20 a day. That sprinkle in because we've had to merge and move into a different direction. Yet we're all still amazingly communicated through networking.
And I think that is, it's almost a double-edged sword.
Right.
I love the fact that I have more time in the morning because I'm not having to try to get all my stuff together for my lunch and for snacks, and then getting in the shower and getting the dog for a walk, and then my commute. So that is great because I have more time. Mm-hmm. So I've been able to take longer walks with the dog, be able to work out in the morning. I don't have to do my lunch because I have time to do it at, the appointed time. But at the same time, I miss the interaction because I live by myself. Right. So, sometimes I'm not great company. and
that's
it's just
not
me.
True. Come on, that's not true.
And it's the same four walls. And it's also the same thing. A couple of weeks ago, I did a quarantine fatigue, right? On the stresses of that. And one of the things I also missed partly is the commute, because that commute allowed me to change my mindset, right? I could leave the work at work because the commute allowed me to either, blare music, to scream, to talk to a friend, or just be silent so that I could transform from work to home. And I wasn't necessarily bringing it with me. I could leave it. And now everything's right in the same four walls, and it doesn't always work like that.
Right.
Yeah. So it's one of those where you don't want something to go away, but at the same time, it's a benefit. So it's looking at both those options, I think, so that you know what can I sacrifice so I can take the benefit of something else.
Right. The adjustment for me is, I'm a morning guy. I'm here at 4:30 in the morning, every morning, Monday through Friday. I know it makes people cringe, but that's my particular schedule. And then, the other people have theirs, whether it's in the middle of the afternoon, later in the day, or even through the overnights. So I rarely get the opportunity to see my kids because their mom handles the scheduling for their school. Now school's at home, so I actually get to attend to them at the schooling a little bit more than I have in previous years, which is super cool because, now we really get to see full force what teachers have to battle. But you also want to help them and protect them because, our kids are our future.
Well, yes. And, I'm, as much as I miss my son, I am thankful he is not still in school to have to do the...
Yeah, no, I get that too.
So, well, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to discuss the cons or maybe the downfall of New Year's resolutions. And I still love to hear from you. Do you make New Year's resolutions? Why or why not? Call in at 1-800-930-2819. That's 1-800-930-2819 and let me know what your resolutions are, or if you don't make them, why not? I'm Erica Gifford Mills, and you are listening to a special edition of Get Rooted Radio, living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Tune in to The Truth is Funny with Colette Steffen each Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This hit show will have you thinking outside the box and riding the wave of infinite potential. Join Colette on the Higher Self Network, inspiring listeners to shine their brilliance and ensure success while roaring with laughter as they recognize the humor of the giant cosmic joke. Visit thetruthisfunny.com.
Stuck in a roundabout of dysfunction? Stop circling around difficult issues and find out what's been holding you back. Learn how to speak your truth to power with host Dr. Kathy Obear. Create real change with smart tools and smart strategies. No frills, no fluff, just life-changing conversations to help get you where you want to be. Extend your reach and become an agent for real change with Kathy Obear. For more information on Kathy and her work, please visit drkathyobear.com. That's drkathyobear.com.
Tune in to the show Heart Change Consciousness with me, Dr. Trish DeRocher, as stories of inspired activism come to life. Listening to conversations with your favorite authors, change makers, and many more who practice inspired spiritual activism and transform vulnerabilities into sources of strength. Let's be inspired together through my show, Heart Change Consciousness, on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Transition, simultaneously the most difficult and vital part of the human experience. Without change, how would we grow? Tune in to Grounding into Your Radiance with Stacey Barber every second and fourth Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Step into your truth and allow the light into your life. For more information about Stacey and her services, visit staceybarber.com. That's Stacey, S-T-A-C-I-E, barber.com.
It's time to get your life back on Burn Bright Today with Jennifer Marcinelli. Tune in each month on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Learn to move from the darkness of burning out to the light of burning bright. Jennifer is redefining stress and the energetic causes of burnout, shining a light on process to get your life back. For more information about Jennifer and her work, visit burnbrighttoday.com.
And And we are back on a special edition of Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills, living it up, loving it up, letting it go. And I'm filling in for Dr. Pat today, and honored to be here with all of you. But if you missed any portion of today's episode or want to listen to previous episodes of Get Rooted Radio, visit getrootedradio.com. That's getrootedradio.com to listen to a replay of this episode, sign up for helpful tips, and learn about upcoming events. So many of us see the benefits or pros to setting New Year's resolutions. Are there any cons? And I would say yes and no. So let's take a look at some of those. The first are the deadlines foster procrastination. So we talked about this as a benefit, right? That some people need that deadline. They need a date in order to get their butts moving. But it can be easy to put off getting serious about your resolution or goal with such a long lead time. Setting goals takes planning and follow through. And while a year deadline leaves tons of room for postponing things until tomorrow or next week or next month, that's where we get into that it fosters procrastination. And as I said earlier, perhaps that should be a resolution or a goal to stop procrastinating. I know, unfortunately, it's something that I tend to do a lot. And I say every year, I'm going to stop procrastinating, but it doesn't always work. So along those same lines, or should I say deadlines, we feel too much pressure to beat the deadline. So what if you can't achieve your dream body in a year? Or what if you're still stuck in your dead-end job after aiming to move up the career ladder? What if your savings didn't grow as much as you projected it to? There are so many what ifs and so many pressures. If you're the type who gets too pressured by the dates and progress, then setting a New Year's resolution may not be for you, especially if you feel like you're not in a good place to really push yourself to be better. The biggest thing is take it one step at a time. Things will fall into place naturally, and we don't need to rush. And we'll get into it with tips, but I think sometimes people bite off more than they can chew, and they they pressure themselves because the deadline and the goal are not equivalent. You're putting too much pressure or making too large of a goal with an unrealistic timeline. Another really con or making it more harmful to you is that little self-doubt, those limiting beliefs. Sometimes we set ourselves up for failure without thinking about it and taking the proper steps to achieve that big goal or that resolution. And that really can lead to self-doubt, those limiting beliefs, the guilt, if the goal isn't reached. So doesn't mean that we shouldn't push ourselves. I mean, really, if a goal doesn't make you a little bit afraid, doesn't give you those butterflies in your stomach, maybe you're not aiming high enough. But you need to be realistic, right? That self-doubt can be crippling. And that could be a very much of a con for somebody to make those New Year's resolutions. And along those same lines, when self-doubt comes into play, we then become too critical of ourselves. Despite being a great motivator, these resolutions or goals can also be the cause of that self-criticism. We tend to look past our achievements and focus on our weaknesses. And that's not going to get us anywhere. So if we're looking at our weakness, like, I said I was going to lose 5 pounds this month. I only left 4. I didn't meet my goal. We're focusing on what we didn't do as opposed to how much we did do. And when we still haven't improved on that area, we really look down on ourselves. And we could tend to further punish ourselves for failing. And it is a normal reaction, right? A lot of people have this reaction, but feeling ashamed can be damaging to our mental and emotional health. And we want to try to avoid that at all costs. Setting ourselves up to do something like that, to belittle ourselves or be our own worst critic. So when we set expectations and don't achieve them, it really affects our self-worth. So for many who maybe are still working on some of those things, their self-worth, their confidence, setting a New Year's resolution might not be the best bet. We want to work out, not set our expectations too high, and not to be too hard on ourselves. So again, it's the too much pressure to meet the deadlines. We've got that self-doubt. We are too critical on ourselves. And along those same lines, it's every mistake discourages us. So if we have setbacks, we tend to get down on ourselves. And if we remember that change is a process, unfortunately, we don't always remember that. And a lot of us are very impatient. So we want progress quicker than others. And we look at every setback as a sign to stop instead of making us challenge us and motivate us to do better. We shouldn't forget that the biggest achievements take a lot of time and a lot of effort, which means mistakes are inevitable along the way. But it really shouldn't discourage us or set us back further away from our goals. We tend to live in an instant gratification environment, right? We can text instantly. We can get a hold of people instantly. It's no waiting around. We have everything at our fingertips by our phones, our computers, radio, television, any social media. So we're used to, if we don't achieve it right away or in the set time frame, we're failures. So that can be a very discouraging factor in setting those resolutions. Ultimately, you need to look at yourself and ask, should I make New Year's resolutions? Then keep going. Why are you choosing your New Year's resolution? How many times have you made them? And which of your resolutions have you actually achieved? So Benny, for example, do you have intentions or goals that you tend to make every year?
Ooh. I'm trying to really think.
I'll give you an example. So
okay,
I have
sure.
a friend that every year, she's like, I'm going to lose 10 pounds.
Oh, right. Okay.
So, and I'm like, so does that mean you want to lose an additional 10 pounds? Or does that mean you lost it and then you gained
it back and you want to lose it again? Yeah. That's okay. That's a pretty good regimen. Everyone's got the ups and downs, but if it's consistent across the board, I think you're winning. Really.
That's true.
I think you're doing all right. So, for me, oh man, that's really just to have, I guess, consistency in, I'm a big scheduler time guy just because it's what I do. I guess maybe sticking to more of that, but then also to just relax a little more and to let some of those things go. Because I find myself really structured in a lot of months, and for sometimes I shouldn't be so structured in those months, but then it always creeps up again.
Yep. No, I understand that. And I think many New Year's resolutions fail because we're merely looking for a new experience instead of a real change. Mm-hmm. And it's easy to say you'd like to have a better love life with your partner, but what are you really committed to doing in order to make that resolution, a reality? Right. Or I would want to eat better. So, okay, what are you willing to do or give up to make that a reality? Are you actually just wanting to go out on more date nights, or are you actually wanting to not spend so much money on takeout? Like, really, what is it? What, if we continue to look at that, are you actually looking to create a deeper and more meaningful life, right? Whether that's a bond with your partner, whether that's a healthier lifestyle. We often make resolutions in the spirit of the celebration with no real thought into what it will take to achieve them. So then a few weeks or months into the new year, we give up, asking ourselves, like, what's the point? Why do I do this? Then we really kind of feel miserable about our lack of progress and might turn to even worse behavior. So I would say, again, let's ask the question, should you make New Year's resolutions? And before we get to that answer, it goes back to what we talked about earlier, realizing the difference between a resolution and a goal. And we talked about a resolution is a decision to do or not do a specific behavior. A goal is a series of calculated steps designed to help you achieve the resolution, like starting a mindfulness meditation practice. So really, by that definition, it may be more straightforward to think of goals as the planned out process of achieving the resolution. So by setting the goals, you're differentiating your desired outcome from the steps you took to accomplish it. And I think that gets to what is the point of New Year's resolutions? And I think by establishing objectives, right, those why do I want this, resolutions create an end result to your goal making. right? It comes back to the way you set your goals. The goals, not the resolutions, are the key to the long-term growth and success. And I think the secret to setting those goals is knowing why it is you want to do them. It goes back to those questions on why are you choosing that resolution? Why do I want to do that? Is that important to me? Is it finding purpose and meaning in those goals? So creating compelling goals will help you stay inspired. It's even when it gets hard, right? Even when you make a mistake, even when you fail. And let's admit it, we all do have missteps in life. So what sort of resolutions are you all considering? Is it personal development? Is it career? Is it finance? Is it love? Whatever it might be, I want to hear from you. So we're going to take a quick break, and it will be your last chance to give us a call at 1-800-930-2819. That's 1-800-930-2819. You're listening to a special edition of Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Did you know that when we talk about the Earth's ecosystems, the most important ecosystem has been left out? We created the ecosystem approach to recapture human potential.
Find us at theecosystemapproach.org.
Join us every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Time for the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Conscious Confidence Radio, a timeless wisdom with Sarah Main. Tune in each month on Transformation Talk Radio and join Sarah on an adventurous journey to the deeper level of meaning to move beyond today's world of constant change, confusion, and uncertainty beyond the shadow of fear. This hit show explores key concepts such as confidence, values, and attitude in a dynamic way. To learn more about Sarah and her work, visit sarahmain.com.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show, Talk Radio to Thrive By. I am so thrilled to be talking to all of you. We have got talk radio for all of us. Are you ready and willing and able to accept all of the abundance you can muster up in your life? Check us out at drpatshow.com, transformationtalkradio.com, transformationradio.fm. Oh my goodness.
Tired of not losing the weight? You need a healthy solution for weight loss that protects your muscle mass as the fat burns away naturally. Holistic Medical Center has the healthy option for your weight loss concerns. Lose 1 to 3 pounds per day in 21 days, naturally, under our physician supervision. Call Holistic Medical Center 425-451-0404 or on the web, drdarvish.com, drdarvish.com.
Tune into 3 Things I've Learned with Susan Dolce every first and third Tuesday of the month at noon Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern on Transformation Talk Radio. Join Susan and her guests as they share the stories that shift our souls about radical transformations, courageous breakthroughs, and life lessons. 3 Things I've Learned with Susan Dolce. For more information, go to transformationtalkradio.com or visit Susan's website at susandolce.com.
If you struggle with fear and anxiety, you know how powerless and stuck these emotions can make you feel. You've tried everything, but nothing helped you overcome these blocks. Dr. Friedman Schaub, award-winning author of The Fear and Anxiety Solution, created a special program which helped thousands of his clients to become healthy, happy, and confident again. Learn how to eliminate negative self-talk, let go of your emotional baggage, and replace limiting beliefs. With Dr. Friedman's accelerated program, you can break through your challenges. Visit thefearandanxietysolution.com.
Welcome back to a special edition of Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. If you missed any of the information during the last segments, go to getrootedradio.com. That's getrootedradio.com to listen to the replay. Don't forget to subscribe, sign up for tips and special events at getrootedradio.com. So we've been talking about New Year's resolutions, the history, pros, cons, and we're going to get into some tips for keeping those. But first, I understand we have a caller.
We do. We'll take Sandra calling in from the Wisconsin area. Hi, Sandra. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for calling in, Sandra. So do you have New Year's resolutions? Do you make them?
I try to. One of the things that you had said that resonated with me was sometimes I have a tendency to make a resolution or maybe even a goal that others maybe think that I should make. I tend to let them influence me more than I should. And I think that's part of the reason why maybe I fail, rather than asking the questions like you were saying as to why I'm making this resolution. Is it truly for me? And I think that if I were to do that, or maybe others if they're in the same situation, they'd have more success in their resolution and, or goal.
Oh, absolutely. Because it has to be something that you want, because if you don't want it, there's going to be no desire or motivation to continue on with it. And quite frankly, chances are if you're doing it for somebody else and not for yourself, you could even get a little bit of resentfulness towards that person because they're keeping on you about it, but yet it's not something that you really want. It's not something that motivates you. And I think that goes into some of our tips. So, one of the tips that we look at is be realistic. Really the surest way to fall short of your goal is to make your goal unattainable. But also, not just that, but you want to make those SMART goals, right? The SMART. But I do a little twist on those. So it gets to your point on, is it for you? Most people have heard that SMART stands for the specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound, or timely, right? Well, I say all those things are important, but also look at it as S for special. Is it special to you? M, memorable. Is it memorable for you? Is it not only achievable, but arousing and authentic? So is it have some sort of authenticity for you, not just attainable and achievable? And is it rewarding? So yes, relevant, but is it rewarding? Is it something that's going to make you be better for yourself? And then the T, very similar to authentic, but is it true to you? Is it true to yourself? Is it something that you want? And I think, Sandra, if you don't look at those things, then you do set yourself up for failure.
Absolutely. And when you were talking and making those statements of, especially the why are you doing it? It just really resonated with me and hit home.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you calling in so much. And stay tuned because you're going to hear the rest of 10 tips to keeping on track with your New Year's resolutions or goals. Thank you so much for calling in.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. So getting back, thank you so much, Sandra, for calling in and getting back to those 10 tips because we are running short on time. We only got an hour, but it's one, be realistic. We talked about those SMART goals. Make sure that it's something that is special to you, is memorable, is authentic, is rewarding, and true to yourself, not just the specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. The second one is plan ahead. Don't make your resolution on New Year's Eve. If you wait until the last minute, it will be based on your mindset on that particular day. So plan ahead, right? As we're looking towards achieving it. And if you don't do it right away in January, if you take January to plan it out and you start in February, there's no time limit. There's no time that you need to do it, right? It's what works for you and set for you. After you plan that ahead, outline your plan. So decide how you will deal with the temptation to skip that exercise class or maybe have that piece of cake. Plan ahead. Plan and make contingency plans for those things that might fall short. This could include, phone a friend, calling a friend for help, practicing positive thinking and self-talk, and reminding yourself how the bad behavior will affect your goal. Number 4, because I'm all into pros and cons, right? Make a pros and cons list. It may help to see a list of items on paper to keep you motivated, to keep you strong. If you develop this list over time and ask others to contribute to it, it can really help you to see what are the pros and cons of these actions. And 5, and there's some debate about this, but I believe this one to be true, is talk about it. Don't keep your resolution a secret, because if you keep a secret, there's no accountability. Tell friends and family members who will be there to support you for the change or the new activity that you're looking to do. You know, the best case scenario is you find a buddy who shares the same goal, and you can motivate each other. You can bounce ideas off of each other. So don't keep it secret, talk about it. The next would say reward yourself. Don't wait until you totally achieve your goal to celebrate the victories along the way. So I'm not saying reward yourself by eating an entire box of chocolates or spending extra money on a gift, but I am saying reward yourself for the little steps that you are taking towards your goal. The next would be track your progress. Keep track of all those successes and reward yourself along the way, but also how are you doing, right? Do you need to adjust your plan? Perhaps you had a plan, you thought this would work, and it's not. So if you're not tracking your progress, you won't know what different avenue you may need to go in to keep going on your path to success. Number 8 would be don't beat yourself up. We talked about this being a con, but we need to remind ourselves that obsessing over the occasional slip is not going to get you anywhere. You do the best you can each day, and you take each day one at a time. Number 9 is stick it out. Never give up. Many experts say that it takes 21 days for a new activity to become a habit and 6 months for it to become part of your personality. So it's not going to change overnight. It takes patience, it takes consistency, determination, and persistence. Keep with it. And the last one would be keep trying. If you don't run out of steam, you will make it there, right? Keep trying. You may fail, you may have to try again, you may have to start over. Just keep it going. So again, be realistic, do those SMART goals, plan ahead, outline your plan, make a pros and cons list, talk about it, reward yourself, track your progress, don't beat yourself up, stick to it, and keep trying. I'd like to add just 3 more before we close this out, is release the past year. It's important to forgive the past, honor the learning experiences, and take those huge steps forward. To use one of Benny's words, develop intentions. Develop a morning intention. Set an intention to deeply commit to the desired results that you want and make that presence known. And as you tap into that desire, you will start your day more present. And then the last is measure your success by how much fun you are having. Stress doesn't equate productivity. Take pleasure in all your little successes and focus on the greatest success of all, which is living a fun, fulfilling life. And remember, New Year's resolutions don't have to be for everyone. Whether you're defining your New Year's resolutions or choosing to decline the tradition, don't forget to maintain motivation in your life and always keep a little grace in the pocket moving forward. So I want to thank you all for joining me on this special edition of Get Rooted Radio. You can listen to me normally on the first and third Mondays of each month at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, and 2 p.m. Pacific right here on Transformation Talk Radio. So I'd like to thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful holiday. And thank you so much, Benny, for all your help today.
My pleasure.
And I hope you have an amazing day and a very fruitful new year.
Views expressed on this program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and do not necessarily reflect the views of the station, its management, or advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.